Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the January 28, 2026 Community Services and Education Subcommittee meeting. I'd like to introduce City Attorney David Benton. Mr. Benton, please explain the rule of public comment.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. During citizen comment, members of the public may speak up to 3 minutes on issues of concern, of interest or concern to them. However, the matters addressed must be within the jurisdiction of the city and on which the city has authority to act. Citizen comment session is limited to 30 minutes. The open meeting law allows subcommittee members to listen to the comment, but prohibits members from discussing or acting on issues presented. However, members may respond to criticism. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Benton. I'd like to also introduce our interpreter, Elsie Duarte, who will provide a brief announcement.
I will be providing Spanish interpretation during today's Community Services and Education session. I will now take a moment to address our Spanish-speaking audience. Buenos días, mi nombre es Elsie Duarte. Estaré interpretándole a nuestra audiencia de habla hispana durante esta sesión del Subcomité de Servicios Comunitarios y Educación. Para escuchar la reunión en español presencialmente, favor de pasar por unos audífonos ubicados a la entrada de la sala de cámaras. Las personas registradas para hacer un comentario público sepan que podrán hablar libremente sin interrupciones durante el tiempo disponible. Sus comentarios serán interpretados al momento que usted termine de hablar. Gracias. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. We will move on to item number 1, which is the approval of the CSC meeting minutes from the December 6, 2025 meeting.
I will move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item number 2, which is a Head Start Birth to 5 monthly report. Are there any questions from my colleagues regarding that? I think so. Any questions online? On the phone, sorry.
Not for me.
No, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on, and we don't have any registered from the public, so we will move on to item number 3, which is the 2025 Future Leaders Youth Town Hall. Any questions from my colleagues regarding the progress of that?
Yep, I'm good.
Madam Chair, I have a few questions.
Oh, yes, please. Give me 1 second. I'll have Tim Valencia, our Youth and Education Director, come to the table to answer those questions.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Morning, and thank you for
Good morning,
joining
Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee.
Feel free to proceed, Councilman Hernandez.
Thank you so much. As I was reading through the agenda, this sounded pretty exciting. We're on the Future Leaders Youth Town Hall, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, sorry, just on the screen, it was a different slide. But no, this is actually pretty exciting. So my first question is this an event that happens annually with the City of Phoenix in partnership with these other partners?
Vice Mayor Hodge Washington and members of the subcommittee, yes, it does happen every October, and we have had this partnership since 2017.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, just from reading it, I haven't attended one personally, but it's really exciting to see an event like this on this scale, just bringing in our youth and highlighting so much of the topics that they are really impacted by. So just really excited to see the next one happen in October. And just thank you for the city side, just being great partners on that for such an amazing program. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman O'Brien, any questions from me?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll move on to item number 4, which is an overview of the federal updates and how they impact our city services. We will welcome Human Services Director Jacqueline Edwards and the Office of Homeless Solutions Director Rachel Milley to the table.
Good morning, Chairwoman Hodge-Washington and members of the subcommittee. Human Services Director Jacqueline Edwards and I are pleased to be here this morning to provide you with the latest updates available on federal priorities that could impact our respective departments and our Phoenix residents. During today's presentation, I will provide an overview of the many changes over the last few months relating to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Continuum of Care program, and Jacqueline will provide updates on the city's hunger relief program, federal social services programs, and the impacts being felt in the Human Services Department. First, to briefly provide you with an overview of the Continuum of Care program. It is administered by HUD, aimed to create coordinated community responses to homelessness, and is the federal government's primary mechanism to fund homeless services, particularly housing. The City of Phoenix is a member of the Maricopa Continuum of Care, or COC. Maricopa Association of Governments is the collaborative applicant and staffs our regional COC. The Maricopa COC was awarded just over $52,090,000 in 2024, which was the most recent application period. It is important to note that the City of Phoenix does not receive direct financial assistance from the COC. However, COC funds provide the vast majority of the housing subsidies for people experiencing homelessness in our community, allowing Phoenix to focus its funding on efforts in areas that the COC does not fund, such as outreach and shelter. The current Maricopa COC $52 million award contains 19 permanent supportive housing projects, 3 rapid rehousing projects, and also funds the administrative and data pieces of our system, including our coordinated entry system, which is contracted to Keys to Change for adults and UMOM for families. It funds Solari to manage our homeless management information system, or HMIS, and our planning grant, which funds Maricopa Association of Governments, our collaborative applicant. In total, these funds provide housing support to over 3,100 individuals in around 2,000 housing units. HUD issues a notice of funding availability, HUD issues a notice of funding opportunity, or NOFO, for COCs annually. Each year, COCs have the option to renew projects or to add new projects via a competitive process. However, around 90% of a COC's annual funding is considered safe as part of a COC's annual renewal. In 2024, Congress authorized a 2-year funding cycle for the COC program, allowing HUD to solicit and review applications once and use the results of that competition to make awards for both fiscal year 2024 and for 2025 once funds were appropriated. Unfortunately, over the last 3 months, there has been what some have referred to as a little bit of whiplash with HUD's proposed changes to the 2-year NOFA process. This has caused deep concern in the homeless service community in the region and across the country. I'll provide a brief overview of some of the major events since November. On November 13th, HUD rescinded the 2-year NOFO Congress authorized in 2024 and issued a new NOFO. This NOFO was drastically different from previous years and could have had severe consequences to COCs and, more importantly, to people housed in COC subsidized units. The NOFO released in November would not only have capped Maricopa COC's permanent housing units to under 600, it also indicated a shift in philosophy from housing and supportive services to shorter-term services, enforcement, and treatment programs. The National Alliance to End Homelessness, National Low-Income Housing Coalition, and others filed a lawsuit a short time later, stating that the rescission of the 2024 NOFO was unlawful. HUD rescinded its NOFO on December 8th, and the court issued a preliminary injunction on the 19th, which blocked HUD from making the drastic changes to the NOFO. HUD then issued another NOFO on the 19th. However, an order of preliminary injunction was granted on December 23rd, which ordered HUD to reinstate the 2024 NOFO. So, as of now, the court has temporarily paused HUD's rescission of the 2024-25 NOFO. The court has temporarily paused HUD from moving forward on a new 25 NOFO. The court has further ordered that HUD must preserve the status quo that existed under the 24-25 NOFO by taking steps to process eligible renewals for 2025. This preliminary injunction temporarily blocks HUD from canceling the 24 NOFO and issuing a new NOFO that could result in immediate housing instability or a return to homelessness for more than 170,000 people nationwide and 3,000 people in Phoenix. A few caveats to the current situation. So far, HUD is complying with the preliminary injunction, But the preliminary injunction, if it is not upheld, HUD indicates it will not process renewal awards and will reissue the December NOFO. The December NOFO does not include all the renewal projects and could reduce housing units in our community. However, it appears unlikely that the court will rule in HUD's favor. As it stands now, and assuming the preliminary injunction is upheld, MAG has submitted our renewal package in advance of the February 9th deadline so that funding can be distributed to current projects. All indications point to HUD issuing the NOFO that was issued back in December later this year for a 2026 appropriation year. So although we appear to be safe from sweeping changes this year, we as a community need to prep for a loss in housing funding next federal fiscal year. I will now turn the presentation over to Jacqueline.
Thank you, Rachel. As a result of the last federal shutdown, the city launched a citywide food drive, Phoenix Hunger Relief. An update on this effort includes total weight of food collected at nearly 6,800 pounds and monetary donations of almost $30,000, which equates to over 148,000 meals to be able to be distributed to Phoenix households. During the government shutdown in the fall, the food assistance and hunger relief websites were one of the highest visited city websites with a combined 5,000 views. The last day for donations for this campaign is February 3rd. I encourage staff and residents to visit the donation page to see how they can support in these final days of Phoenix Hunger Relief. Continuing on with updates from other social service programs operated outside of the city, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, is fully funded through September 2026. For SNAP, there are now more specific work requirements which the state has communicated to participants. The Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC program, is also fully funded through September 2026. At this time, WIC is continuing to operate as normal. Congress has seemingly come to an agreement on the funding for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which the majority, but not all, of federal social service programs are funded through. This legislation still needs to be passed and signed by the president. As more information is known, it will be shared with mayor and council offices. Changes at the federal level have appeared to impact programs that the Human Services Department operates, which include, in fiscal year 2026, a 6% increase in meals requested and provided at our senior centers. In the Head Start program, abandoned applications have increased by 30% from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 26. What this means is that families are declining enrollment into Head Start when it is offered to them. Finally, in calendar year 2025, there was a 46% decrease in phone calls for rental and utility assistance in comparison to calendar year 2024. To create proactive strategies and guide city-level actions when major federally funded social service programs are disrupted, we have now created the Human Services Preparedness and Response Plan to protect vulnerable populations. At the guidance of Council and the City Manager's Office, the Human Services Department is leading the effort in partnership with Housing, Neighborhood Services, Homeless Solutions, Public Health, Environmental Programs, Community Assistance Program, and Communications. We will also be working with key external agencies and stakeholders that work in social services or impact vulnerable populations, which may include state and county government, nonprofit and community-based entities, and local philanthropy. The City Department Work Group has already convened and determined the first 3 areas to plan for are food, housing stability, and healthcare. The city roles and responsibilities for the Human Services Preparedness and Response Plan include planning, coordination, communication, and mobilization of resources. The plan is split into 2 key parts. For preparedness, we will convene key partners and stakeholders based on the key topic areas. As part of the risk assessment and planning, identification of vulnerabilities and recommendations will be developed. Communication strategies will also be created at this stage to include website templates based on scenarios, as well as multilingual messaging. Under the response plan, there is activation criteria that will determine when to implement preparedness plans. Partner collaboration will include convening to share information. Then public information and outreach will occur based on the specific scenarios. And finally, collaborative activities will be enacted to support residents accordingly. Updates and information on the progress of these plans will be shared with the CSE subcommittee. I appreciate those on the CSE subcommittee for providing the direction for the Human Services Preparedness and Response Plan, and we look forward to, as I said, sharing those updates with each one of you. This concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Just have a couple.
Yes.
Thank
Councilwoman
you.
Stark?
So I see that the food drive was quite successful. You said we had quite a lot of hits on the website. I know that various districts also held their own food drives. I know we did in Sunnyside for the Cass Family Shelter. Has there been any discussion about maybe extending the time of that? It seems because it's so successful that we might want to consider that. I don't know if that's a staffing issue but it seems to me like it's working, so maybe we should take advantage and continue it for a while.
Vice Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, members of the subcommittee. On our website, the food assistance page will continue to be there.
Okay.
That information is consistently being reviewed to make sure that it is updated for our residents. On the donation side, what we're taking a look at is as I shared, is one of the topic areas for that Human Services Preparedness and Response Plan is food. Work has already begun in this area, and to determine how best to continue to engage our staff and residents in that donation piece. And I would expect that we'll see a continued campaign as we flesh those details out.
Well, I appreciate that. And if we want to redirect it to some of our food banks, our partners, I know, of course, we have St. Mary's, but there's a lot of other great food banks that are smaller and people may not be aware of them. I know in District 3, we have Desert Mission and we have the Paradise Valley Food Bank and Harvest Compassion. So I think, if you need us to help in that direction, but it's great to see that people are taking advantage of the program. And then the second question I had dealt with the drop in calls for assistance with regards to housing needs and utilities. And that seemed like a pretty significant drop, 46%. Do we know perhaps what's happening? It seemed large.
Thank you for the question. Yes, it is a significant drop. We haven't seen something like this in all of the data that we do have. So, it is speculation per se and cannot say specifically why the drop is there, because we are still seeing a high need in our communities and that continue to grow. But I think because of changes happening at the federal level due to immigration status and requirements around reporting on that households are deciding not to contact us for rental and or utility assistance.
Okay, that seems to make some sense. And I also want to commend our Vice Mayor. She's been very proactive in trying to seek solutions when it comes to eviction, and hopefully we continue to work on that because that might help with the assistance and the drop in calls. But thank you. I do want to say you guys have done terrific work. really impressed with what you guys do. I was just complimenting Rachel. I was coffee with cop this morning, and her staff was running around. They were really busy answering questions, but it's good to see that we're out in our communities really trying to provide service and information to them. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Councilmember Starks. Thank you to both Jacqueline and Rachel for the updates today. To me, these updates are significant, extremely important to keep in not only our council informed as to how these national developments intersect with our local priorities, but also to inform our community, our residents of our city. There seems to be a lot of information that is out there, and I think it's helpful for us to be also conveying the information from our perspective. I do have a couple of questions. I think it's just, many of them will be for clarification purposes. I want to start off with the impact to the Maricopa Continuum of Care. I'm a recent member of the board for the Continuum of Care, and I was blown away when I heard the $52 million award being in jeopardy. I specifically was concerned that this represents a significant portion of our housing options for those that otherwise may need assistance. We already know as a city we do not receive our fair share of housing choice vouchers from the federal government, and this would be one more, if we lose, this would be one more tool that is taken from our toolbox. Although we do not direct the program, we do benefit tremendously. Many of these units are located within the city of Phoenix and benefit Phoenix residents. I would like, if you can talk a little bit about, you said there were deep concerns within the community that serves our, that provide the permanent supportive housing, all of those that benefit from the continuum of care resources. Can you share why that is a concern?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the true concern with the NOFO that was issued in December, which drastically would have cut the number of available permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing, so really capped that number from 2,000 units currently to under 600 units. The largest concern was that we would have people who have been stably housed, have exited homelessness, been in permanent housing, and would have found themselves in a situation where they did not have that housing anymore. So we were preparing worst case scenario for an influx in people returning to homelessness, which was the number one concern. I will say our continuum of care did act fast, and I have to commend Maricopa Association of Governments for all of the work and convening they did when that NOFO was issued to try and have the least amount of impact as possible to individuals and to conform with that NOFO as best as possible with the current resources that we have and transitioning programs to transitional housing from permanent. But we knew that no matter what, if that NOFO had gone forward, we would have seen a dramatic impact in our community.
Thank you for that. Can I ask you to also explain what permanent supportive housing means? I think it's something that many of us in this room understand, but I want to make sure the community also understands what you mean when you say permanent supportive housing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly. So a permanent supported housing voucher is issued to a family or an individual who is likely not going to be able to afford rent on their own for some time. They most likely have disabling conditions, chronic homelessness, and they're going to need some sort of subsidy for the long term. So whereas a transitional housing project could provide support for up to 2 years, there is no deadline or no end date on a permanent supportive housing voucher. That's a long-term voucher to help someone be stably housed.
And then I'm jumping around a little bit. With respect to the NOFO that was issued by the federal HUD in December of 2025, it's my understanding and that the Maricopa Continuum of Care actually looked to see whether or not we would be able to meet those qualifications. And it's my understanding that we would be at a disadvantage under the new requirements. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly, Madam Chair. So some of the things that were very concerning to the continuum of care were some of the requirements in that original NOFO that was issued in November of 2024. Some of them we reacted to immediately. One of the requirements was that our board have elected officials and law enforcement on the board. So MAG acted very swiftly, as did the board, to make those adjustments. But things that we might not be able to adjust for were requirements that we had no control over. For example, every community in a continuum of care would have had to have a camping ban. Our current regional continuum of care does not. Not every community has that. Other things that were concerning was the federal government indicated they'd be looking at press releases and other sort of communication in the community to see if there were enforcement actions being taken or to sort of take the pulse on communities, which definitely made our continuum of care nervous.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to jump over a little bit next. Thank you so much for that, Rachel, for those response. Some of my questions have been asked by Councilwoman Starks with respect to understanding the website. I also was curious if it's one of our highest visited city websites. What was the thought on continuation? And I'm glad to hear that it will continue. So thank you for that clarification. My question, maybe I'm getting too far in the weeds, and I've been known to do that. But do we have any data to show whether or not the website continues to get traffic after the federal conditions that caused us to launch change? Because I'm curious as to whether or not the need still exists.
Madam Chair, I don't have that information offhand, but that is information that I can provide to you and the other subcommittee members.
Thank you so much. I also found the decrease of rental and utility assistance requests concerning, because it didn't align, in my opinion, with the other things that we have been seeing. If we're seeing the requests for additional meals go up, it kind of seemed counterintuitive, I'm sorry, for them to go down. But you've answered that question. And this question is for the Head Start abandoned application. Do we have any idea of why families may be declining enrollment in that service?
Madam Chair, I think it's similar to the decline in the utility and rental assistance phone calls. It's due to, potentially due to impacts with questions regarding to immigration and legal status. Just to clarify though, in Head Start, there is no requirement right now for children or their family members, their household members, to report on what their status is. It is not a question that we ask families, but it appears there may be a chilling effect at this time.
Thank you so much for that. And then my last comment goes to the Human Services Preparedness and Response Plan. I'm very grateful to see us move forward with that. I think it's, we saw the chaos and uncertainty that occurred in our community, and I think we owe it to our residents to have a plan. Hopefully we don't have to implement that plan because we have some level of certainty from our federal partners, but we would be unwise to not take heed from what we've seen before. So I just wanted to echo my support for the plan, to continue to say that I agree with the prioritization of ensuring that food, housing stability, and healthcare truly should be part of this plan. I think those are the major components that we would need to have some level of a plan for certainty for our community members. So thank you for the report. I just really want, I think someone from government relations, what do I see? Oh, there's in the back. I just want to, I'll give you the question while you walk down, Eric Galindo. My question, and I'll ask it again, but you can think about it, is where do we currently see, just your thought process on the feasibility of the passage of the current funding bills for both SNAP and WIC? Well, welcome to the table.
Thank you.
So my question, I'll state it again, is that the social services programs that we heard about, primarily SNAP and WIC, I just want to make sure if you have any insight or any thoughts as to the feasibility of those continued funding of those programs, because that is, we saw that was a huge concern for our community.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Hodge Washington, members of the subcommittee, as you know right now, Congress is debating a lot of the 6 of the appropriations bills that are held up that were slated to be signed and passed. The unfortunate events that occurred in Minneapolis caused Congress to revisit the Homeland Security appropriations bill, which is the holdup right now. Senate Democrats are withholding the votes for the Homeland Security appropriations bill because of the funding associated to ICE in that bill. So the issue right now is that bill. The other 5 were agreed upon in conference and ready to go. Next week, the House will come back to revisit because the 6 were passed in a minibus package together. Next week, we expect the House to come back to try to pull out that particular Homeland Security bill and try to pass the 5. Once those are passed, then it'll go to the president for passage and funding will occur. But the holdup right now is that particular Homeland Security appropriations bill.
Thank you for that explanation. I know your world can be chaotic right now, so I appreciate the insight. I will be an optimist but a realist, and I think given we have seen the utilization of these social services as a negotiation tools by our elected official in Congress, as well as in the presidency, I definitely hope that it moves forward as anticipated. But I think we also as a city need to be aware or cognizant that there's a possibility that we see the same government shutdown or lack of social services for our residents while this is being negotiated. So I don't want to end on a negative note, but I just want to make sure that I think it's important that this federal update also takes into account our federal landscape and where things currently stand. It is no secret that the immigration enforcement has been a topic of divide amongst our country, rightfully, but using the social services as a bartering chip also is troubling to me. So thank you so much, everyone, for the presentation. Thank you for being here. Eric, I'll ask you to stay for just a second because I want to go to my colleagues that are on. I'll start with Councilwoman O'Brien. Any questions for me?
No, Madam Chair, but I am very thankful for the presentation.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Hernandez, any questions from you?
No questions, but do want to share some comments. Actually, I had a couple questions, but between you, Madam Chair, and Councilwoman Stark kind of covered those, so I won't go with those. But I just really want to thank staff for taking the necessary steps to protect the Phoenix residents, especially under these unpredictable times. So the preparedness plan that was presented, just really appreciate that, and I echo that. What the Trump administration has done to use and threaten to remove social services, especially SNAP and WIC. And in general, they advocate for the reduction of social services and an increase in privatization of those social goods. And those actions don't exist in isolation. They directly threaten the food security, family stability, public health, and economic survival for thousands of households in the city of Phoenix. So I, for one, am super, super thrilled and just very encouraged that we are stepping up and building the infrastructure and the plans of action to ensure that those services go uninterrupted as much as possible. So just really thank you to the staff and all the departments for coming together to work on this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Again, I just want to say thank you to everyone involved in this. This is a team effort, and I think we're being prepared. The adage says you you failed to plan, that means you plan to fail, and I think we're seeing the complete opposite here in Phoenix. We are planning so that we can protect our residents and ensure some level of stability, even if the other factors outside of our control remain unstable. So thank you so much. I'm encouraged by the coordination reflected in the updates, and I look forward to continuing to receive these updates as the work moves forward. So thank you again. The next item will be item number 5. It is the Maricopa County Department of Public Health's 2026 Community Health Needs Assessment. Bring to the table Yanisa Oto, the Public Health Director.
Good morning, Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee. Today I'll be sharing information about the Maricopa County Community Health Needs Assessment and sharing an important announcement about the new cycle of the assessment that will be launching next week. A Community Health Needs Assessment, also referred to as the CHNA, involves working collaboratively with community partners, reaching out to residents to understand their health experiences through data collection, identifying health strengths, challenges, and opportunities. Through this process, findings are then identified, shared back with community, and provide a deeper understanding of the issues and the quality of life, for example, access to vital services and physical and mental health. This process occurs every 3 years and will soon be entering the next cycle in 2026. Today, I'll be talking about the first phase, which is the assessment, and how the Office of Public Health will continue to work collaboratively with the Maricopa County Department of Public Health and this community survey. This slide visually depicts the larger collective that makes local community health improvement possible, starting with Maricopa County Department of Public Health as a convener, providing coordination and data support. From there, the Maricopa Health Matters Collective connects and aligns with the hospital and healthcare partnerships, as well as the Health Improvement Partnership of Maricopa County, of which the Public Health Office is a member of, to connect and align organizations, priorities, and funding for greater community impacts. The connection and alignment with healthcare partners and community partners alike ensure coordination of the CHNA priorities and community health action planning for improvement long-term. Sampling and data collection occur countywide at community events and between other partnerships across the community. This makes it possible for residents to learn about the survey and improve data collection. And my intention today is to continue highlighting the importance of the need for the City of Phoenix, reflected here as a central region, and ensure that our data collection for the city is improved. In the 2023 cycle, City of Phoenix collected over 7,000 resident surveys, and we're looking forward to continuing to improve that number here in the next cycle in 2026. The next 3 slides show a sample of questions and responses from the last cycle, which was in 2023. So one question asked residents to rate their mental health as very good, fair, or poor. Overall, few people reported poor personal health. However, when we look at the subgroups, some differences did pop up. At the city level, the top subgroups who reported poor mental health included people who identified as homebound, the LGBTQ community, and disabled. An additional question asked residents how often could they get health care when they needed it in the last 12 months, and options of responses were always, sometimes, never, and not applicable. Here we see a high percentage of respondents reported difficulty with getting mental health care, with almost 1 in every 3 participants having reported this challenge at the city level. The top subgroups that had the highest percentage of participants reporting difficulty with accessing mental health care included those who identify as being Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders, those a part of the refugee, immigrant, and migrant community, as well as Asian. And the last example of the question was, which health issues have the most impact on you and or the people you live with or care for? When we compare the overall county results to Phoenix, the 5 health issues that rose to the top were anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, chronic pain, and diabetes. Community health improvement does not stop after surveys are completed and collected. This is a beginning of creating a broader community health improvement plan, which identifies priorities over the next several years. For example, the questions we just reviewed were from the 2023 cycle, and now we'd be entering into a new cycle where new community health priorities are identified and where the Office of Public Health will continue to participate in this process to represent both the city of Phoenix and report back to city leadership health improvement priority areas and how we can better ensure that those are integrated into interventions citywide. As a reminder, health improvement planning priorities that were identified for the last CHNA cycle included mental health, access to health care, access to healthy food, substance use, and housing and homelessness. The Health Improvement Partnership of Maricopa County has continued to work with community partners and agencies to ensure that we're creating goals to address each of these priorities into actionable outcomes. And the same process will be completed after the 2026 community health surveys are collected. So some of these priority areas may or may not be the same in our next cycle. Sharing the special announcement today that the next CHNA or Community Health Needs Assessment Survey will open next week on Monday, February 2nd. We encourage the public and everyone who is interested to use a resource and share that will be shared at the end of the presentation about the survey and your opportunity to contribute to community health improvement planning. The survey will be available in 14 different languages as well. If we ask ourselves why this CHNA process is important for Phoenix, it ensures that, first of all, that we would have health profiles created with data at the city level, a resource of which is very limited for us. Participating departments, including Office of Public Health, Office of Environmental Programs, Human Services Department, for example, and Phoenix Public Library have utilized information and outcomes based off of the CHNA to ensure and improve programming and community response. Here's a summary of the different phases of the CHNA process. Phase 1 will be the data collection, the community survey, which will open next week and will be open until April. Phase 2 moves into the summer, May through September, with data cleaning and analysis being done by the County Health Department. Closer to the new year, in 2027, County Health will be sharing results broadly to ensure that community agencies and residents and the public are aware of which priority areas rose to the top. And then phase 4 continues into 2027 and 2030 for those community health improvement action planning processes, of which we will bring strategies forth to the subcommittee and to county and to city leadership in the future. Here is a slide of examples of resources that are created on behalf of County Health Department for community agencies. The middle picture there is an example of a profile of questions that we will be asking in the survey, as well as a profile example of what we would have prepared for us in the future. And then finally, as we're finishing up the presentation here are resources both at our Office of Public Health, our inbox, and resources made available through the County Health Department for learning more about the CHNA process and sharing information with community as well. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Councilman Stark.
Thank you. Looking at some of the statistics, it looked like homebound people have issues with mental health. And I'm just wondering, I mean, my generation didn't talk about mental health. It just wasn't really talked about. And I'm guessing a lot of homebound are probably seniors. I don't know, because I don't have the stats. But are there campaigns that either the county or we're doing to try to get the word out that it's okay to recognize that mental health is an issue and that we should talk freely about it? Again, growing up, we just didn't talk about it. It was just, and I know it's more of a generational thing because I look at my children and they're much more open about those kinds of issues. So again, if there's campaigns going on, I'd be more than happy to try to promote them on social media any way I can. I go to our senior centers a lot, so if there's anything I can do there, I would like to help, because I do think it's a real issue, especially when you're living alone and you feel isolated.
Chair and members of the subcommittee, thank you, Councilwoman, for that question. I will take the opportunity to highlight last year as a city was for the first time we did improve our communication around our Mental Health Matters campaign, and we're eager to have that come out again this spring, starting in May, which is our awareness month. For individuals that are homebound, we understand that that does continue to be a challenge, and to address public health priorities of how do we find people when they're inside? You know, how are we ensuring that all of our campaigns across the city reach individuals? So looking forward to continuing to collaborate internally with Human Services Department, and as well as County Health Department. They also have a healthy aging unit, so that we can improve communications, whether it's access to these campaigns or access to awareness of services, and perhaps bringing services to individuals who might be homebound and have an inability to then access services outside of their place.
I think that's great, and I kind of segue in to promote what you did last year, but I think that if there's an opportunity, and I'd be happy to be part of it, if you were willing to go out to our senior centers and talk a little bit about the campaign, I'll be there with you. I think it's really important, and isolation can be just one of the toughest issues to live with at any time, but as you age. So whatever I can do, I am so committed to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sarth. Councilwoman Hernandez, any questions from you?
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just my first question, can we hear a little bit more about how the last cycle's results in the survey were used like by the Office of Public Health?
Chair, members of the subcommittee, thank you, Councilwoman, for the question. One example also lending itself to improving mental health awareness was the creation of mental health resource brochures that we've distributed mostly at our 17 city libraries. And these brochures were created based off of the data that we collected in 2023. These brochures were translated into English and Spanish and provided local and national and statewide resources for individuals. We've now needed to update our inventory on those brochures twice across the library system. So that's a great indication to us that that resource has been widely utilized, especially when we refer to that 2023 data, letting us know that anxiety and depression were the outcomes that rose to the top, unfortunately, of our community, reporting themselves that these were the highest issues that they were having challenges with.
Okay, thank you so much. And as we talk about this, great to see that the needs assessment is going to go live on February 2nd, I believe is what you said. What is the targeted audience for this, needs assessment? Is it like a broad, is it going to be available to anybody, or is there going to be targeted outreach on this?
Yes, it is, Chair and members of the subcommittee. Yes, this survey is open to the general public. We would love for as many of our public to complete the survey so that we have a representative sample of those who are living within Phoenix, and with the representative sample being ensuring that we are collecting surveys due to demographics of the makeup of our city. Targeted outreach and programs. So the Office of Public Health does have a work planner outline of locations and spaces and events that we hope to share this survey at, and we'll be glad to follow up with council offices as well with links and QR codes and things, and even participate in events that you all might have in the community, as well as attending community events across our departments and collaborating with other community partners. So really, again, the message is to get the survey out far and wide between February and April, and to ensure that we can improve our response rate. As a reminder, in 2023, we had over 7,000 responses in the city of Phoenix, and we have a goal of improving that and maybe even doubling it if we can achieve that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just curious about that because wondering, I know that, the Office of Public Health doesn't have or doesn't receive a lot of general fund allocation. So trying to understand how we can do the outreach to really drive up the results there. And hopefully, our partners at Maricopa County are going to help us in also pushing that out. My last question is, am I able to can you get us the previous cycle reporting on this so we can review it? Obviously, it happened before we were in office, so would love to get that previous report and just understand the previous results a little bit more.
Chair, members of the subcommittee, yes, Councilwoman, I'll be glad to share that with the subcommittee.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman O'Brien, any questions from you?
Yes, Madam Chair. To Councilwoman Hernandez's point about getting the results, will you be tracking those demographics and then pushing out in areas where we're not getting that representative sample from?
Chair, members of the subcommittee, thank you for the question, Councilwoman. Yes, the county will periodically, after April and the survey during February and April, rather, they will be sharing updates on the samples that they are collecting so far, and they will let us know the areas, demographics, and population that perhaps we can focus a little more on to ensure that before April and the survey closes, we can achieve those goals.
And can you tell me, will we be using social media as well to help us with that?
Chair, members of the subcommittee, yes, Councilwoman, we are working closely with our public information officer to ensure that we're sharing this information citywide using social media, using our Office of Public Health website, sharing interdepartmentally as well, and we can follow up with additional communication outlines for council offices if that would be helpful to you.
Yes, that would be, and would love to make sure that we have all of the information so that our individual offices can help us push it out. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I have a couple of just clarifying questions. Well, not clarifying. My questions, we'll start off by saying thank you. This is very important for us to understand the health needs of our community. I specifically think it might be helpful to share a little bit about what happened after the 2024-2026 Maricopa County Community Health Improvement Plan priorities were identified. Because I think it's helpful to get individuals to participate in a survey to understand what happens with those results. And I think you can build on that momentum by showing what you've done with prior information. So I don't know if you want to take a few minutes to just explain how that has been implemented.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, thank you for that question. What typically happens in a community health improvement process after a survey or a health assessment is closed is we enter into the community health improvement plan phases. So what that does, and what that starts with the county health department, really reviewing the outcomes of the survey and then pivoting to working collaboratively with what's called here locally the Health Improvement Planning Partnership of Maricopa County, HIP-MC as well. And so what that brings together is community agencies, community-based organizations, governmental entities. We represent Phoenix on that committee to ensure that we're both learning about the health priorities that were reported directly from community, countywide, but then also broken down regionally and then down to our city level. From there, we would then identify how we can utilize that information to inform interdepartmentally on how is it as a city that we're using this information to have a public health response and improve our interventions that may exist, or think of new ways that we can help address these health priorities as well. Those 5 areas that were identified, I believe it was slide 9, what happens as well in this community health improvement planning process, or also referred to as a CHIP process, is that these top sort of 5 priority areas are identified for the next 3 years. And so likely these areas, again, were mental health, access to healthcare, access to healthy food, substance use, housing, and homelessness. We will know after data analysis whether or not these areas will remain the same or they'll be updated based on community input. And then from there, we'll continue to work closely with county health, community partners, and ensuring that, again, we are being creative in how we are addressing and innovative in how we are addressing the health improvement areas across the city.
Thank you for that explanation. To me, what stood out the most for me was using these priority areas. There were subcommittees that were formed to identify goals, objections, and strategies. So it shows that there are markers or indications that we're going to use to determine the success of these programs. So this is very important. These are just not aspirations, but these are intentional areas of focus. My second question goes to, I wanted to ensure the distribution of the Community Health Needs Assessment 2026 survey. I heard quite a bit of focus on sharing that information via social media. I was curious as to what is our plan, if any, to also incorporate those individuals or get access to share the survey with those that probably are not on social media and may need, we want to hear their opinions as well.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, yes, actually in the 2023 cycle, we had copies of a paper survey as well, and we'd also have the survey available on a tablet, for example, to sit side by side with individuals. Examples that we utilized in 2023 were attending senior centers, for example, to sit side by side and really talk through the survey. Some questions undoubtedly could be difficult to understand, or even curiosities of why this is being asked, and that really provides us a one-to-one opportunity to engage with the public and community and ensure that their results are included.
So I presume that this is going to also necessitate some level of additional community engagement to get this information out within these February to April timeframe. And I too want to lend my support to making sure we touch as many residents as possible. So we will coordinate offline as to how we can best do that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for outlining community health continues to be one of the areas that we hear of from our community that of importance. So thank you for the work that you do. And seeing no other questions, we will move on to item number 6, which is a communication and outreach for human services and youth programs. And we have quite a bit of people come to the stage this time, to the table. Welcome back, Human Services Director Jacqueline Edwards, Youth and Education Director Tim Valencia, and welcome Communications Director Dan Wilson.
Thank you, Chair Hodge-Washington, members of the subcommittee, for the opportunity to present today. We look forward to providing you an overview of how we've strategically promoted the human services and youth and education programs that are so important in helping the Phoenix families we serve. Today, we will look at what we've done over the last year, the effectiveness of that promotion, and opportunities for improvement, including a comprehensive new campaign we'd like to launch this year with your feedback and input. We'll start at a high level. Our 2025 efforts for the Human Services Department and Youth and Education offices included posts across multiple platforms on citywide and department channels, gaining nearly 200,000 social media impressions or views, traditional media outreach such as media advisories and press releases, print and mail outreach such as newsletters, and more than 280,000 views to HSD or Youth and Education web pages on phoenix.gov. We will dive deeper into specific case studies now as I turn the presentation over to Jacqueline Edwards and Tim Valencia to discuss specific program examples of each of these efforts.
Thank you, Dan. The first case study is on the Human Services Department's eviction legal services, which launched in January 2025. HSD partnered with the communications office to ensure information about the program would get to the residents who needed it the most. A website was developed to specifically share program requirements and how to apply, including links to an application in both English and Spanish. Also, bilingual materials were created to be distributed at city locations, community resource fairs, and other events, which have QR codes to link to the website. The following spotlight video was produced by the Communications Office to highlight eviction legal services as well as other HSD programs and encourages residents to seek help when they need it.
Bills can pile up, and it can be easy to get behind. Stop. Don't wait for an eviction notice to get help. Let the Phoenix Human Services Department guide you. Crisis assistance, landlord and tenant counseling, and eviction legal services. Contact us today at phoenix.gov/human services.
Targeted community outreach was also a tactic used for eviction legal services. This heat map shows eviction rates throughout the city, and the areas that are darker are those that have higher rates of eviction. Utilizing this eviction data by zip code, HSD conducted in-person outreach to key areas. This section pulled out is an example of targeting outreach within the city. Overall, we have conducted 33 outreach events, 17 events at HSD senior centers, and connected with nearly 3,000 people across all events. Social media has also been used as a tool to reach households, including by posting in neighborhood apps like Nextdoor in communities that have a higher rate of eviction. In this second case study, the Phoenix Mental Health Matters campaign will be reviewed. Thanks to mayor and council advocacy and support, May 2025 was the first year the city recognized Mental Health Awareness Month. The communications office created a campaign brand, Phoenix Mental Health Matters, to help residents recognize this important new initiative. A digital resource hub was developed as a one-stop shop website for residents to obtain information on resources, access a calendar of events, and for partners and community agencies to submit information as well. A robust social media campaign included 85 posts, earning more than 9,000 impressions and a very high engagement rate of 6.4%. This brand new initiative would not have been successful without the support of mayor and council. During Mental Health Awareness Month, a mayoral proclamation was made. And with the social media toolkit the communications office created, the mayor and council offices raised awareness about Phoenix Mental Health Matters to residents. On May 6, 2025, we hosted a Wear Green Day at City Hall. In this photo, members of the Community Mental Health, Wellness, Public Health, and Safety Task Force, along with the supporting departments, are pictured. The members of this task force were crucial partners in creating and implementing Phoenix Mental Health Matters. Cross-departmental support was key in communicating this important initiative to residents. Some examples include Public Works lit up City Hall in green and also put messaging on solid waste vehicles. And city libraries had a display for recommended items to check out, reading lists, and e-resources. Other strategies used to share information about Phoenix Mental Health Matters included distribution of bilingual printed materials through community partners, as well as holding a mental health community resource fair hosted at the Human Services Department's Travis L. Williams Family Services Center that had 22 community agencies participate and over 200 attendees. Due to the support of mayor and council, the city manager's office, community partners, and our effective marketing and communications campaign, we had a successful 2025 Mental Health Awareness Month. We look forward to applying these strategies and more to continue to grow our awareness campaign in our second annual Mental Health Awareness Month this May. I will now pass it to Tim to share the case studies from the Youth and Education Office.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Our first study is our Partner with the Principal, which is designed to connect business leaders with Phoenix schools to create sustainable partnerships. After the pandemic, we knew we had to rethink how we kept engagement strong, so we focused on 4 key strategies. We created an outreach media kit with ready-to-use graphics and social media content. This made it easy for schools and partners to share consistent messaging without adding extra work. We promoted the program through multiple city social media platforms and recruited participants through our Pays newsletter and even worked with our Volunteer Phoenix office to include information on their platforms. Second, we introduced a Frame It Right presentation that helps partners clearly communicate the program's value and impact to the strategy, to the community when they pushed out information regarding our program. But we also knew we needed to go beyond those resources. We began working with organizations like Valley of the Sun United Way, the Greater Phoenix Chambers, Grand Canyon University, and city departments like CED to amplify outreach and encourage participation. Another key piece of our vital information with our program is a virtual information session that allowed businesses and schools to learn about the program and ask key questions live, which was recorded for outreach purposes. And to showcase the success stories, our public information office produced a business spotlight video, which has been a powerful engagement tool. And I have a small segment for you to review today.
Last year was my first year of doing a partner with a principal program through the City of Phoenix, and it led to a wonderful partnership with At the Outlet, who ended up coming to work with us and our students every Friday for At Our Family Choice Friday.
This was our first time being part of this program. We got to come and take a tour. Principal Schneckloff told us some of the things that she was looking for, and it seemed like we were a good match and a good fit, and we got right to work.
Students had wonderful opportunities through the arts, whether it was palm, dance, vocal, drumline, but they build in a lot of life and social skills within their musical and arts instruction that the students really benefited from and just absolutely loved the experience.
Our second case study is our Outstanding Phoenix Youth Leader program, which celebrates the most impressive achievements of high schoolers across our city. Here we implemented 3 key strategies. Again, we created an outreach media kit, like mentioned prior, and refreshed the program's identity under the name Phoenix Achieves to better connect with youth in the community. We also created a dedicated logo for strong, a recognizable brand. Students who were recognized also received professional headshots for marketing materials, giving the program a polished, cohesive look. Second is our community outreach. With PIO's help, we leveraged legend boards in English and Spanish, digital downtown directories, newsletters, and even elevator and entrance monitors to reach employees and visitors. Events like our annual Phoenix Youth Leader Town Hall mentioned earlier also helped us connect directly with students outside traditional challenges. And I'm happy to announce right now, I think Vice Mayor and members of our council beat me to it earlier, but October 23rd, 2026 is scheduled for our next town hall, and the topic is housing affordability. Third is our digital outreach. Schools now rely on digital platforms to communicate to students and families rather than delivering paper flyers. So we use their tools like Peach Jar to reach students, families, and educators with timely, targeted communication on the program. What was that impact? We delivered over 14,000 pieces of content to students, generating over 13,000 clicks to our application process. This outcome is helping us refine our strategies for even greater success with all our programs. Another major highlight, as you can see, the program was featured by local media, amplifying our reach even further. So the bottom line, these strategies have worked. With our Outstanding Phoenix Youth Leadership Program, student applicants grew by 86% for those coveted 16 council spots, nearly doubling interest, but we're still focusing on growing our applicant pool. With our Partner with the Principal program, we grew participants by 133%. This growth shows the strength of leveraging resources to increase partnerships with schools and business community. Overall, these efforts have grown the program and amplified our reach. And as you can see, we did not do it alone. This is perfect timing to pass the baton right over to our biggest partner, PIO Director Dan Wilson.
You can see from these case studies that that a strong foundation exists. We want to build on that momentum in 2026 with a strategic and targeted campaign that we plan to raise additional awareness of programs that help Phoenix families, share stories with the community of the successes of these important programs, leverage partnerships within the community to help spread information on these programs, with the ultimate goal to increase participation. Now, we know that with so many great programs, we have to focus our efforts. Our goal in 2026 is to raise awareness about the resources and programs available for Phoenix families, especially those with young children. So what we propose to you today is a 3-pronged focused approach for the year. Under your guidance, our first focus area would include services for kids from birth to 3rd grade. This includes programs such as Head Start, Read on Phoenix, our volunteer tutoring program, the AARP Experience, Great Start, which exposes Title I students and their families, opportunities to attend educational and cultural events, and then the Phoenix Families First Resource Center, Early Literacy Hub. Our continued efforts to support Phoenix families would then move to crisis assistance. This includes programs such as eviction legal services, the landlord-tenant program, tax assistance, emergency rental and utility assistance, workforce development, and case management and resource referral services. Our final suggested focus pillar for the year would be programs that help older, vulnerable adults in our community. This includes senior center activities, including social gatherings, fitness and health, and daily meals, along with case management and emergency financial assistance mentioned previously. And then as Councilwoman Stark raised, also mental health awareness, and that we can include the mental health matters as part of this. Today we focus specifically on programs that are run by Human Services and Youth and Education departments, but we know that there are many other programs run by other city departments, such as library, housing, parks, that will fit into these important focus areas. And so to bring all these programs together, we're proposing a multi-department, multi-platform, bilingual campaign that brings together all of the programs and resources available for Phoenix families. Our goal is to raise awareness about the resources and programs available for helping Phoenix families, especially those with young children and vulnerable adults. We'll break down the silos between departments and make sure all information is available in an easy to understand and accessible way. We are eager for your input on the proposed strategy and to take any questions you may have.
I just want to say good job. In any way I can help you, I will be there. We like to promote what we do at the City of Phoenix at our community chats and on social media. So please take advantage of us and we'll try to help you get the word out. Thank you for all you do. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. I too want to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the updates on the communication and outreach that we've done and we anticipate to do for both our human services and our youth programs. As been said, behind closed door, I get to say from the dais, like this was very important to me because I think we do such great work at the City of Phoenix. We provide a myriad of services to our community, but I was often disappointed that many of our residents did not know what we provided. So I think our outreach is key to ensure that the most vulnerable and those that need it have access to the information. So I think this work is so important. I want to go through a couple of the items real quick. I appreciated the case studies that were highlighted. The video presentation and the intentionality in which we tried to reach our community is definitely appreciated. I have more of a metrics question. Are we setting levels or identify? I know for some of these, we don't have any baseline in which to go off of. And I feel like I'm speaking without explaining myself. So I'm going to go back. For example, on the eviction legal services, the outreach component of this was really pushed by communities saying people that need it don't know about it. And I think right now we were able to see that we are responding. I like to consider it this way, given the outreach, we have at least 3,000 new advocates, people who know about the information and it can share that with the community. I'm wondering, are we keeping any metrics or do we intend to keep metrics of for success to determine whether or not we are truly continuing to reach the people that need this information?
Madam Chair, I'll begin specifically with eviction legal services. So we are data-driven in how we're doing that outreach, as I shared, based on the areas with highest eviction rate. We have a really targeted plan for this entire fiscal year and going into the next fiscal year of which communities and what types of activities that we will be doing. We are overlaying that information with the applications that we are receiving and in which areas that they are from the city to see if those outreach efforts are producing more applications. and clearly we are really trying to target the areas of highest eviction because we know that those residents need the services the most.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was hoping to hear, that we would be comparing to ensure that those areas get the resources they need. And I must say, I love the level of intentionality of going as far down as targeting the next door groups where we see those evictions. So thank you for that. Housing and homelessness tend to be one of our continued areas of concern in our city, and I think we have provided a service, and the goal is to make sure that as many residents that need it know about it. I think wanted to say on the Phoenix Mental Health Matters, I think we did a phenomenal launch. In fact, I'm even still wearing green today. So it clearly is memorable and it has been working, and it ties in really well with our last presentation to talk about mental health continues to be an area of concern for our community. So I definitely appreciated that. I really wanted to highlight part of the case study for that. We talked about the cross-departmental support, and I really wanted to take the opportunity to say that operationally, we use different departments to move the city forward, but collectively, we are one organization working for the benefit of our residents. And so I think the more that we can utilize cross-departmental collaboration is I think it's going to be a game changer for ensuring that these successes continue. I enjoyed hearing about the case study about the partner with the principal. You were able to show tangible connections and increase to the partnership. I think this all ties into the larger goal of us trying to change some of the not so great statistics when it comes to our educational investment as a whole. The case study on the outstanding Phoenix youth leaders, I'm excited to see that you have doubled your applications as well as increased the number of participation in the partner with a principal. I'll take a quick moment to remind those that are listening that the deadline, if you want to be a part of this, it's still open. The deadline goes until March 1st. But to me, this is key. This is showing that these efforts work. And the more we continue to do that, we continue to build on it. I think I lead right into your slogan, building on the momentum for 2026. I truly appreciate the 3 focus areas. I think those are the areas, again, that coincide with what have been identified as needs and what our community is asking for us. I am a total fan of the 3 items that have been, the 3 areas. I think, like I said, focusing on birth of 3rd grade is so key, especially as we are trying to come up with we're trying to change a negative statistic into a positive, especially when it comes to our 3rd grade literacy. And I think it's only through programs such as Head Start, Read On, Phoenix, Great Start, and continuing to advocate for literacy hubs and our libraries component are we going to do that. Crisis assistance also is important. The utility of social safety nets. We provide that really well here as a city. Unfortunately, when many individuals are going through a crisis, they don't always know where to go. And I think the more that we share this information in advance of a crisis, we have higher probability that it won't spiral into something that becomes more troubling. And then, of course, everyone knows I love the seniors as well. So to us to be able to share more about all of the great things that we are doing at our senior centers. Yes, I do love Councilwoman Stark, but I'm often at the senior centers, and I think it's an opportunity that we don't always hear about, and that's sometimes why I ask questions about how do we ensure that those that are not necessarily on their iPads get the information. So I say all that to say that I'm beyond excited to see the Help in Phoenix Families initiative move forward. I think it is truly rising to the occasion that our current city residents need. So all of that to say great job and thank you. Councilwoman Hernandez, any questions from you?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just have have a question around, oh, first, sorry, let me backtrack, a little all over the place. Thank you so much for the presentation, a lot of very useful information. Wondering what, outside of, I'm very encouraged to see the cross collaboration with different departments on this piece. On the outside though, what community partnerships can we rely on or do already exist that we can tap into to help get this outreach out more?
I'll begin. Councilwoman Hernandez, thank you for that question. For each one of our programs in human services, we do have established partnerships in which we share information with community agencies to make sure that they can amplify our message, or how we can amplify what they are doing, because oftentimes we're serving the same individuals, and if nothing less, they are our residents, and we want to get that information to them. Specifically for eviction legal services, we have identified a number of different community-based agencies to work with, either at their locations to be able to share information, their resource fairs. So us going to them and being able to speak directly to the clients that they are serving on these specific services. And then for our Phoenix Mental Health Matters and our mental health awareness campaign, as I had shared in the presentation, we do have a specific task force that have representatives across a number of different organizations specifically focused on primarily mental health and services in the community. And we partnered with them. It was really at their suggestion and council's suggestion to move forward at recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month for the first time last year. So at our resource fair, we did have 22 different agencies that came to be able to share information. And on our website, we also put not just our events that we were doing in the city, but we also shared events from our community partners around mental health awareness. We will continue to expand on that for the second annual campaign.
And then,
okay, thank you.
I can add on to that if you like, Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you.
From a media perspective, I don't think we always look at them as a traditional partner, but particularly when it comes to Spanish outreach, our Spanish public information officer, and we have a committee, but it's led by Alejandro Montiel, has done a really great job of building relationships in the Spanish media community. So, for example, we were able to do phone banks with Telemundo, where we get a lot of phone calls from people in the community, and our city employees are there manning the phones, sharing with them information about eviction legal services, about other programs. It's really, Madam Chair, what you talked about. It's getting the information to the people who need it because they don't know where to turn. We also have a monthly article in La Voz. There's a radio program that we are able to get individuals from the city on to talk about various programs, and that's been a really successful partnership.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know Alejandro and does a great job, and that is, thank you for that information. I think that's great, creative ways to meet the people where they're at. On the side of the Youth and Education Office, like, do any of our partnerships exist directly with the schools, or some of the daycares in the communities to encourage more of that engagement?
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, yes, we do market all our programs to our all 29 school districts within the city of Phoenix. We have great partnerships. All information is sent to all the schools. We maintain a database to ensure that information gets out. As said in the presentation, we need to also tap into the platforms the school uses, like Peach Jar, because that is a way to get information to the families and the students. We also tap into many of their clubs and extracurricular activities that those schools provide depending on the specific program. For a partner with the principal, because of the outcome of our town hall, we are focusing on targeted industries, those high demand industries. So we're wanting to look at how we better partner with our labor union, how we better partner with business associations to get the word out when it comes to connecting businesses with our school leaders. We also are with our standing youth leader, Alejandro does a great job. In fact, I believe we have an interview going on shortly for Spanish media. We're also highlighting some of our city staff who actually have been awarded the partner or with the Outstanding Phoenix Youth Leader Award 10, 12 years ago. So you'll be seeing that shortly for outreach as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think a lot of the schools, a lot of the high schools have DECA clubs. I think tapping in specifically to DECA and helping connect them with some of the business community would actually make a lot of sense. I just say that as a former DECA student and chapter president. It really, if having access to some of the outside, the businesses in the community does a lot for building a skill set for our youth. So I would say, like, if we can look at even helping bridge that more direct connection between business community directly with maybe some of the DECA clubs in the high schools, that could go expand some of our outreach efforts. I'm a big fan of, when we're talking about outreach, I'm a big fan of like canvassing. Is that going to be incorporated as we launch this new campaign to ensure that the residents know everything that exists so that we can help them? And I ask that especially right now. There's communities not always comfortable going out at the moment. So is there a way, like, how are we going to address that and navigate that piece? And can canvassing be incorporated into the bigger outreach program, or sorry, the bigger outreach plan?
Thank you for the question, Vice Mayor. Councilman Hernandez. I'll try and address that question. I think we can look into maybe partnering with the council offices and to see if that might be possible, maybe with our community partners as we launch our preparedness plan that we discussed in the earlier item. I think as a matter of resources, just quite honestly, I'm not sure. We'd have to see how that might be possible for the departments directly to do that, because they do have duties that that we need them here to be able to give out the services. Yes. So just, we'll look at what creative ways we can use to see if there are partners who might be able and willing, and I believe there might be, to do some of that door-to-door communication with vulnerable communities. But I really do appreciate the suggestion and the recommendation.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I just think about it from like the eviction legal side, right? A lot of the folks or a lot of the families and the residents that could really use the help, for example, in the eviction legal services, are probably working multiple jobs. So it's like, how can we really engage with them and create that opportunity for that direct engagement? So, all right, thank you so much, Gina. I think that is all my questions for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Hernandez. Councilwoman O'Brien, any questions from you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do believe you all have been incredibly thorough and covered most of the matters. I do want to say how excited I am about the cross collaboration that will come this year to include other programs that will be helpful to our families. So what an incredible job you all have done, and I look forward to our families learning more about the services and resources available to them through the city. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman O'Brien. Again, I just want to echo how grateful I am for how appreciative I am for the thoughtful approach being taken on how we improve communication and engage with our communities. I'm excited to see the progress in this area and look forward to ongoing updates as we move this work forward again. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you. Next, we will move on to the call to the public. And I see that we have one registered speaker virtually. I will call on Chanel Levant.
Oh, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say that, I appreciate these resources too because, I was in those positions where I needed all of them at one time. I used to even call your office because I was even petitioned by my case manager at Salvation Army to get in touch with everyone there so you can know what the resources are, kind of wherever position you are in. And another reason why I think the enrollment for the Head Start program, and then again, this is my experience, the ladies and the men there, they really don't have really good customer service. They're kind of intimidating when you come there. You're coming there, you don't know what the expectations are yet until you get there, until you're told where to go. And you don't know if you can fully trust, these people because of the kind of attitudes you get when you initially sign up. So that kind of takes away from people wanting to come forth or talk about it or ask other people to come follow in their journey to get early childhood education. That's all I had to say.
Thank you so much for your comments. Just as a reminder, we cannot or we do not respond to public comment at this forum. But so I will move over to the next item, which is any future agenda items for the Community Services and Education Subcommittee. Anything from you, Councilman Stark?
We have a pretty long list already.
We're busy. Councilwoman O'Brien, any additional items from yourself?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hernandez, anything you would like to see future items?
Not at this moment, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and conclude our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
There's a lot of food that the farmers produce that they don't have a market